Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Sports Outlet. I'm guest host CJ Paras, and it's been a wild March so far, with the NCAA men's basketball tournament being the main focus. After 2 weekends of games, we're down to the Final Four vying for the national title. Joining me today to discuss the Final Four is sports producer Mike Battista and frequent correspondent Alex Mitchell. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I can't complain. Happy to be here. It's been a while since I've been on LTV, so just getting my little fix.
Snow days.
Yeah, snow days, stuff like that. Yeah, exactly.
Snow days, plays.
Before we get into the teams remaining, let's update you on the LTV versus TCNJ March Madness Bracket Challenge.
So
Mike,
right now we have a lot of stuff going on with the March Madness brackets. Student Film Union with Tyler Law can still win because he, for some reason, picked Michigan.
Wow.
I don't know why.
He knew something we didn't know.
Maybe he knew something we didn't know, or just very lucky, as this entire month proves. You can win just because you like Buffaloes.
Yes.
So ice hockey's in the lead right now, followed by LTV with yours truly. You're welcome, all of you. Then we have the Society of Creative Endeavors in third, Student Film Union in fourth, WTSR Sports Producer in fifth.
Where am I?
Yeah, get to you. Ultimate Frisbee in sixth. Catholic Campus Ministry in seventh.
I was first for a while.
You were, but you aren't now.
Okay.
Kevin Walsh Jr. with Student Ambassadors in eighth. And then the Signal Sports Editor, Miguel, in ninth. So right now, the teams that can still win are ice hockey if nothing else happens, me if Villanova wins, and if Michigan wins, then Tyler wins. That's pretty much how it's going to work out. And it's going to be a wild weekend. Is the national championship the same weekend as the Final Four, or do they wait a week?
It's the same weekend.
It's the same weekend.
It's a Monday.
Yeah,
They give it an extra day to
they
rest.
both play on Saturday, and then they play on a Monday.
So it's going to be very wild. Oh, yeah, because that's right. 2 years ago when I was a Signal Sports editor, I got to watch it in the group. So, yeah,
Yes.
it's going to be a very wild weekend and a good sports way to start the week. We have a lot to
Yes.
talk about on Ryan the Pine.
Oh, Ryan and the Pine. Yeah, it's going to be a great show coming up. But
All right, so we should move on.
Absolutely. All right, now let's get to the teams in the national semifinals. First, let's start with the Cinderella team, Loyola-Chicago. First Final Four since 1963. Any thoughts on this?
I'm really excited for the Loyola-Chicago team because I think they have a legitimate chance to actually make the title game simply because how their side of the bracket turned out. While Michigan can be a very good offensive and defensive team, their problem is they're very inconsistent. And when they make their three shots, as they did versus A&M, no one's going to beat them, including Nova, because they can just put up points like no one's business. But when they're cold, sometimes they can struggle to find ways to score, which is where Loyola-Chicago comes in, because they have this knack for just playing close games, sticking around. I mean, 3 of their wins came by a total of 4 points this tournament before they blew out Kansas State.
So the inconsistency you're talking about, Michigan is one of the best defensive teams, not only left in the tournament, but they were one of the best defensive teams in the country. They held up the Florida Seminoles. They destroyed in the first few rounds. And the fact of the matter is, with Loyola, they don't have consistent star power. They have Mitchell. What's Loyola's star player? Mitchell something or
Yes.
What's it's on there? I think.
Yes.
Look, Loyola has Loyola has the ability to get past players. They have the ability to go deep in the rim and then and then just get the points they need to very quickly. But they don't have the same consistency and the same depth that Michigan does, and I feel like that's going to be their main issue.
While they may not have the same defensive consistency, because I will admit, Michigan is a very good defensive team. They're very consistent on defense, holding teams to relatively low scores for college. However, though, Loyola, they play as a team, I think, better than anyone else in the tournament, because you look at the teams like Kansas, Nova, and Nova who are left. Well, yes, these teams play very well together. They have star power that if, say, their cohesiveness isn't doing well, their stars can just take over. But Loyola, Chicago, as people have seen, have just been able to stick together as a team. And this ability to stick together as a team, play as a team, especially for players who don't play above the rim so well, where you can like alley-oop or get dunks over players where their only dunks usually come on breakaways. So they've been very, very good. I'm going to be interested to see if they stay hot shooting because they've been very hot this tournament.
They made 40% of their three-pointers this season. And as you were saying before, how that 3 of their victories have only come by way of 4 points. Their first 2 rounds, they beat Tennessee and Nevada by 1 point each. So that proves that down the wire, Loyola-Chicago knows what they're doing, and that's probably where their chemistry comes in, their cohesiveness. And that's really important to remain composed, especially for such a low seed from small conference Missouri Valley. Like, who's heard of that?
No one.
And look at them, made it to the Final Four, beating a lot of bigger programs.
What do you think about Michigan, though? I'm wondering what you would think about Michigan.
You know, the Wolverines, as I like to call them.
Alex's favorite team.
No.
You know, I think that, how many years ago has it been since they won the title?
They got to the tournament against Louisville in the game that never happened now, back in 2013.
Oh, no, they lost. They
lost
when
that
Tim
one.
Hardaway Jr. was there, right?
Sorry?
Yes, I believe it was.
And,
but they won 2 years later after that with Trey Burke.
Wait, they did?
There we go, yes.
Yeah, they won 2 years after that with Trey
about
Burke,
that.
Nick Stauskas.
So it's like, Michigan's always been around. And so I think that with their consistency, like, it's not a fluke that they necessarily lose the
And
Final Four.
here's another thing Michigan has going for them. While they weren't the highest seed to come out of they weren't necessarily the best team to come out of the Big Ten, even though they had a higher seed than Ohio State, I thought Ohio State was actually better than Michigan. Michigan has,
Really?
well, you look at their schedule this year and you look at the record, I thought they were better. But still, when they are going through, what you see is Michigan hasn't lost since early February. They beat Ohio State on their senior night game at Ann Arbor, and they upset Purdue and Michigan State in the tournament, in the Big Ten tournament. So this team has a lot of momentum with it right now. So even though they may not necessarily be super consistent on offense, when a team has momentum, they can find ways to win. And just look at Villanova the other day. Like, their shooting was just not up to their par, and they still had a double-digit lead at the end of the game. So it goes to show momentum really can be a game changer.
You're going to believe anything for me to say, because pretty much saying my points for Michigan, too. I mean, the thing with Michigan is that pretty much exactly what you said. Michigan's always going to be Michigan's kind of like Kansas in a way, where they're always going to be there, but they just either underachieve, or when you don't expect them to do well, they do well, except because one person does say they're going to do well and they win the bracket. It's going to be very interesting to see how they come out, but you pretty much hit all the points. They have good defense. I just think that they're going to be a tricky challenge.
For the Cinderella story.
Yeah. So
A lot of great points.
who do you think is going to win? Loyal versus Michigan.
Well, let's hope Sister Jean works her magic.
Well, Sister Jean,
She hasn't disappointed yet.
I love Sister Jean. For those who don't know, she's 98 years old. And it's truly unbelievable. Like, she gives scouting reports to the players after the games. I just love. I think old people are the key to victory.
Who do I think will win? I don't really know. I mean, logic hasn't really been working throughout this March
especially on this side of the
tournament,
bracket.
so it's just.
I'm surprised you're not going for the classic Blue Brothers quote of "they're on a mission from God." They're from Chicago. The Blues Brothers fits completely in. And the fact of the matter is, I went to a Jesuit high school, so I've got a pretty. Even though like I never really went into that stuff, but like I still I had the priest of my school, also an old guy. Just those figures that always go to sports games. I relate to that, so I relate to Sister Jean, like why these players love her. So Michigan should win, but something's telling me in my sleep that Loyola is going to keep doing it. Championship games in their story, but I don't know.
Hot take. Who's gonna win?
Hot take, my heart wants Loyola-Chicago to win on a buzzer beater. Logically, I have to go with Michigan.
All right, makes a lot of
Buzzer beater
sense.
that just floats forever as like it's being held up.
Yes. All right.
Let's move on to the big dogs of the tournament and constant favorite Villanova. Big
can't.
East.
I can't. My brother and sister were St. Joe's, so I was on that side of
the Holy War.
Of the Holy War. And the fact of the matter is, who's the head coach of Villanova again?
Jay Wright.
It was Jay Wright.
Would you say he's more Philly than
Will Smith? Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because the fact of the matter is, even though Villanova isn't in Philly,
They are a Philly team.
they are a Philly team. They're constantly successful. They're constantly going far in the big dance. And like Jay Wright has made a fabulous program. He knows how to cultivate talent. The Big East,
he can captivate his talent.
and also captivate his talent. And the fact of the matter is, people were worried about the Big East after the realignments and stuff because what happened. And people think, oh, now it's just a bunch of Catholic schools.
Well, it is just a bunch of Catholic
But guess what? Villanova is the best Catholic school.
They're-
One of the
they
best
are.
schools in this country in basketball. And I think that
They've always had a good,
They've always-
reputable basketball program.
Yes.
I
Ever
was
since
worried-
beating Georgetown in '85.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that they were worrying me when they were slow to start against frickin' Penn, but in the first round. But since then, like
Get the tournament jitters out of the way.
Yeah, get the tournament jitters away. They've been doing fantastic, and I don't see no birds stopping these cats.
Now, here's the thing about Villanova that I have to say, which is, I think, very unique to Villanova. Villanova, in this day and age, has the ability to retain their star players past their freshman year. Because in the era of the one and done, it's been very difficult for some of these big schools such as Kentucky, Virginia, Kansas to keep their star power past their freshman year because they can just go off to the NBA and make millions of dollars. But I don't know how. Jay Wright must have an amazing recruiting pitch because he get these guys like Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, and even going back to their last championship team, Chris Jenkins or Archie Diacono. And these are players staying into their junior and senior years who are the leaders of the team, and not just the leaders, but the starters and the best players.
You will be in the NBA next year.
That's the Calipari pitch.
Yeah, that's gonna work out very
And
well.
here's the
I
thing.
mean, it has been working out really
Well,
I
well.
hate one and dones. They're garbage.
Here's the thing about
Carl Anthony Towns, John Wall.
here's the thing about
Call me in 3 years when Trae Young's a bust.
yeah.
That's one.
Here's the thing about one and done stuff. Like, it's not a college fault that there's the one and done rule. The one and done rule is really the NBA's fault because they made them had to go to college. When you look at the best players who should have came out of high school, like LeBron James came out of high school, Kobe Bryant came out of high school,
Garnett came out of high school.
Kevin Garnett came out of high school. Even Lou Williams, who's still in the league right now, came out of high school. And he's been in the league for like 13, 14 years.
No, more than that if he's 37 years old.
Yeah, so
Let's do the math, 18, 19, so he's probably 18, 19 years in the league. That's
yeah, so my point is though, like, these players who are good enough to come out of high school, so like the Marvin Bagleys at Duke right now, or the Carl Anthony Towns of the past, they were good enough to come out of high school. The problem is that the NBA prohibited them, which allows programs like Kentucky and Kansas to capitalize. Now, that's why I think Villanova has been so unique with their ability to retain these players. And I think that makes them very good as a team because there's a sense of we have unfinished business. A lot of players on this team last year were on a team that didn't go as far as they wanted to. And so they have that sense of unfinished business. And they also have the sense of we know what to do. We've won a national title before. We were the backups to these guys who won the national title. We know what the experience is, and we can not only win it ourselves potentially now, we can also foster another class on how to be this good and how to win national titles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great points, guys. So finally, we have the team that, as Mike said before, either fails to achieve or achieves too much when you pick against them, the Kansas Jayhawks.
Can I please start by saying that I have horrifying memories for me of this team is back in my freshman year of high school, doing like, oh, guess what? We're doing a class bracket, guys, and if you win, you get to, like I said, I went to a Jesuit school. You get to dress down for a week. You don't have to wear the blazer. You don't have to wear the tie, the collars. Also, I was like, yeah, right.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Everyone picked Kentucky, Kansas for the final. It was Kentucky, Kansas in the final. 90% picked Kentucky. I'm like, you know what? I'm being the smart guy. I'm gonna pick Kansas. It's that day I came in second because I had everything right, or so much right, but the final. This following year, you know what? I have a good feeling about Kansas. They're gonna do it again. Every year, Kansas gets your hopes up, and they do nothing with it. And now
I think
this
you're speaking
year,
just more for yourself.
That's
than the
Virginia for
collective
me.
nation.
yes, I am. But guess what? I'm the producer, so I can do that.
Okay, wow.
So here's the thing. Duke should have beat them, but of course they trip up. I can't take it with this team and this inconsistent, both good and bad. And the fact of the matter is, I don't see what's different about this Jayhawks team than in past years.
Their star power?
Their star power is, they have star power, but they've always had star power. Kansas is one of those schools that is always gonna have star power, and I feel it's a program that you're not gonna go like one and done. You're going to stick around, and you're gonna cultivate like a program for a while. You know what I mean?
Kansas has always had star power, and while most of their players, I would say, do stick around for a while, their best players tend to be one-on-one, like Josh Jackson last year and Devontae Graham this year probably. But we don't know yet, but it's almost a pretty safe bet to say he'll probably declare. But with Kansas, they have a very unique ability to have an outside game and an inside game in college because they have Uzubikwe, I think, the center, who he can get into foul trouble sometimes, but he is a force to be reckoned with on the boards and defensively. And also, like I said, they have Devontae Graham and the Russian guy. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm sorry. But,
You tried. It's okay.
Yeah, but they.
EJ, you're the Nets fan. How would you say a Russian name?
Pishikaka.
Yeah. Yes, but they have the ability to have the outside shot. Like just the Duke game, that their three-point shot saved them, and it really goes to show that when this team gets hot, they can pull away really fast, making it very difficult even for a team of Villanova's ability to either get back into the game. So I think a key for this game for them will probably be to start out fast, because if they can start out fast, their defense isn't amazing, but it's good enough, I think, to be able to hold Nova back a little bit if they were to, say, get like a 12-point lead early on.
Kansas or Nova?
Nova, I think that he's right that that Kansas does have speed, but I feel like the Wildcats are just going to suffocate them and just continuously pound on more and more, and it's just going to become out of reach by probably quarter through the second. Like, it'll probably be a 10, 15-point lead, like 5 minutes into the second.
I don't know if it's going to be quite a big lead, but I also have to go with Nova because of their consistency, and even if they don't shoot well, they find ways to win. So I'm going to have to go with Nova.
Villanova is the favorite of the teams that are left.
Yes.
So who do you have?
Who do I have? I have Nova.
What's with the eyes? Like,
I don't know. I was like, I really don't know. I mean, I guess Villanova, yeah. I think that their program that they've developed over the past few years has it shows the progress that they've made in each tournament.
We're going to have a really very passionate final if it's Nova v. Loyola. That's going to be a very fun one if that happens.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think that is the one most people are probably rooting for, though, just because of the storyline that will create.
That'd be very good.
Yes.
It'd be very Chicago versus Philly.
But God can't pick a favorite either. So.
Exactly.
No, he can.
Pray all you want. It's not gonna
Sister
help.
Jean is going to be praying for help this weekend. That's all I know.
A lot of great points today, guys. This was good. Well, that's going to do it here. If you'd like to get involved with Lions Television, please email us at ltv@tcnj.edu or follow us on social media at TCNJ Lions Television or at Lions Television. It's one of those things. For Lions Television, I'm EJ Paras.
I'm Alex Mitchell.
And I'm Mike Battista. We'll see you next time.
Next time.
Fiend.
Bean?
Fiend, like at the end of the film.
It says